Imagine this. You're gliding down the highway in near silence. The hum of the wheels on the asphalt, the only soundtrack to your journey. There's no strange rumbling from under the hood, no mysterious warning lights popping up on your dashboard, and none of that low-level dread that a big, expensive repair might be lurking just around the corner. You haven't scheduled an oil change, you haven't stressed about spark plug replacements, and you haven't even thought about timing belts in months, because your car simply doesn't have any of those things. For most drivers used to traditional gas or diesel vehicles, that scenario sounds downright unbelievable. But for electric vehicle, EV owners, it's just normal life. Today, we're about to unveil something that will open your eyes to the day-to-day, wallet-friendly reality of driving electric. 37 car parts that you'll never have to replace again once you switch to an EV. We're not talking about minor, inconsequential doodads. These parts are major components that can cause immense headaches and expense for owners of internal combustion engine, ICE, cars. From the monstrous hunk of metal you call an engine block, to the spaghetti tangle of pipes and hoses that make up a fuel system, these are the big-ticket items that routinely break, degrade, or simply wear out in a conventional vehicle, but vanish entirely when you embrace battery-powered driving. Get ready to see why more and more people are ditching the wrench and going electric. Farewell to engine troubles. Let's start by calling out the biggest elephant in the garage: the internal combustion engine itself. That monstrous, complicated assembly of metal cylinders, pistons, valves, and gaskets that has been powering cars for over a century is gone in an electric car. And that's a huge deal. Think about all the things that can and do go wrong with an engine. You can crack an engine block, blow a head gasket, deal with oil leaks, or have problems with piston rings. Each of these failures can be catastrophically expensive to fix, sometimes outstripping the entire car's value. Electric motors, by contrast, are marvels of simplicity. Fewer moving parts means fewer points of failure, fewer trips to the mechanic, and a lot fewer stressful moments behind the wheel wondering what that rattling sound might be. Then we get to the smaller but still critical components that help an engine function. Spark plugs are a perfect example. Though they might be cheap individually, you need multiple of them, often replaced at regular intervals, which adds up over the lifetime of a car. Ignition coils are similarly pesky and prone to failure. They're crucial for creating the spark that ignites fuel in traditional cars. Electric vehicles skip all that. In an EV, there's nothing to ignite, so there's no need for spark plugs or ignition coils. If you've ever dealt with timing belts, you already know how stressful and costly they can be. The timing belt keeps your engine's pistons and valves moving in harmony. If it snaps, the damage can be devastating. Many manufacturers recommend timing belt replacements every 60,000 to 100,000 kilometers, at a cost easily in the hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on your vehicle. Again, not a concern in an EV. No belt, no risk, no massive repair bill. This is the kind of headache-free life we're talking about. That's before we even mention turbochargers or superchargers in performance-oriented gas cars, both of which can boost power, but also add complexity and cost. In an EV, performance is immediate, thanks to instant torque delivered directly from the motor. No additional mechanical forced induction system is necessary, and that means you won't be shelling out a few grand when a turbo fails. Finally, the exhaust system. By definition, if you're not combusting fuel, you don't have harmful gases to expel. That means no mufflers to rust out, no catalytic converters to get clogged or stolen, and no oxygen sensors or exhaust pipes to replace. It's all just gone. In other words, the entire labyrinth of parts that feed, ignite, and manage the byproducts of burning gasoline or diesel is erased, and your peace of mind gets a major boost as a result. The freedom from fluids. Conventional cars don't just rely on mechanical parts, they also revolve around fluids, and a lot of them. That's why it's standard practice to bring your ICE car in for routine oil changes, coolant top-offs, transmission fluid swaps, and brake fluid flushes. Sure, each fluid serves a purpose, but every single one also represents a maintenance cost, a potential point of failure, think leaks and cracks, and an ongoing environmental concern if it's not disposed of properly. The most obvious and frequent fluid maintenance? Engine oil. You're supposed to replace oil routinely because it degrades over time, becomes dirty, and loses its lubricating properties. Miss a change, and you risk damaging your engine. But in an electric car, there's no engine oil to worry about at all. No more scheduling oil changes every few thousand kilometers. No more dealing with used oil disposal. And no more stress when that little oil can icon lights up on your dash. Let's move on to transmission fluid, another sneaky cost. Automatic transmissions can be finicky, and if your fluid gets low or dirty, shifting becomes harsh, or worse, the transmission can fail entirely. A transmission rebuild or replacement is often one of the priciest repairs you'll ever face. EVs generally use a single-speed gearbox with significantly fewer components, so there's typically no multi-gear transmission to lubricate. That alone can save you thousands of dollars over your car's lifespan. Power steering fluid is another fluid ICE drivers occasionally have to refill or flush. In EVs, power steering is usually fully electric, meaning no belt-driven power steering pump and no fluid to leak or replace. And while electric vehicles do have cooling systems for their batteries and motors, these systems are often sealed, simpler, and far less demanding in terms of regular service compared to a combustion engine's cooling system. Simply put, the days of constantly topping off fluids or discovering pools of strange liquid under your car vanish when you go electric. Brake fluid does still exist in an EV, but regenerative braking does a big chunk of the stopping work by using the electric motor to slow the car and recover energy. This means less wear and tear on your mechanical brakes, less heat, and less frequent fluid changes. You might go significantly longer intervals, sometimes 100,000 kilometers or more, before needing a brake job. Imagine the savings. Transmission nightmares vanished. Speaking of transmissions, let's dive deeper. If you've driven a stick shift, you're familiar with clutches that can wear out or even break under stress. If you drive an automatic, you still have a torque converter, planetary gears, and fluid lines, any of which can fail, sometimes catastrophically. CVT, continuously variable transmission. Drivers face a different set of issues, but they still revolve around belts or pulleys wearing out. In the end, transmissions in ICE cars are complicated, and complicated almost always translates to expensive, tedious repairs. But an electric vehicle typically uses a single-speed gearbox. It doesn't need to shift gears to handle varying speeds. The electric motor's broad torque curve allows it to operate efficiently from a standstill up to highway speeds. That means no gear hunting, no clutches, no torque converters, no slipping transmissions, and no dreaded rebuild costs that can creep into the multiple thousands of dollars. What's more, the simplicity of an EV's drivetrain translates into improved reliability and easier ownership. Fewer mechanical parts spinning around at high temperatures and pressures means fewer catastrophic failures. A single-speed gearbox isn't bulletproof, nothing is, but it's dramatically simpler and more robust than the labyrinth of planetary gears or clutch packs in a typical automatic. For drivers, that means more confidence on the road and less time spent worrying about that faint, whining sound you might hear as your gears engage. No more fuel system issues. Think about all the components that deliver, store, and monitor fuel in a regular car. You've got a fuel pump, a set of fuel injectors, fuel filters, and a fuel tank, plus lines, seals, and sometimes even complicated evaporative emissions controls. Every single one of those components can fail, sometimes spectacularly, leaving you stranded or facing a wallet-busting repair. None of that matters in an EV. There's no fuel tank to leak or corrode, no pump to fail, no injectors or filters to clog, no lines to crack. Instead, you plug in your car at home, at work, or at a charging station. That's it. And consider the convenience factor. No more cold, early morning stops at the gas station on your way to work. No more standing at the pump while prices tick ever higher. You wake up, and your tank, your battery, is already full. This also means no more questionable fuel quality, no stale gasoline if you leave your car parked for extended periods, and certainly no more worry about diesel or gas contamination. The entire notion of pumping volatile, flammable liquid into your vehicle is replaced by a simple cable. It's safer, cleaner, and far less stressful overall. Goodbye to emission systems. Ever had your check engine light come on, only to find out it's an oxygen sensor or catalytic converter issue? Modern cars have become quite advanced in reducing pollutants, but that complexity brings a host of extra parts that can fail. O2 sensors measure the exhaust gas composition, and if they fail, your car's computer can't adjust fuel-air ratios properly. The same goes for the EGR valve, exhaust gas recirculation, which can clog or malfunction. Catalytic converters themselves are valuable, hence the troubling thefts, and can be extremely expensive to replace if they become clogged or damaged. Diesel cars bring a new set of concerns with particulate filters, DEF diesel exhaust fluid injection, and more. All these systems exist because your car is constantly producing harmful gases and particulates that need cleaning before release into the atmosphere. But in an EV, there's no combustion. No combustion means no exhaust, which means no complex web of sensors and converters. There are literally zero tailpipe emissions. That means no failing emissions tests. You don't have to spend a dime to keep your vehicle in compliance with local pollution standards. Your car doesn't produce pollution in the first place. It's a liberating feeling, both financially and ethically. No more vibration, noise, or constant repairs. If you've grown up around gas or diesel cars, you're used to the idea that an engine idles, and that vibrations, ticks, and rattles are just part of the driving experience. In an electric car, there's no idle because there's no engine needing to run at standstill. When you're not moving, the motor simply stops spinning, silently. That quietness can be jarring at first, but you quickly come to love it. All that vibration, engine growl, and exhaust noise are replaced by a calm hum. This tranquility speaks volumes about the nature of an electric powertrain. No engine mounts to wear out. No serpentine belt squealing, because there isn't one. No water pump leaks, no thermostats getting stuck, and no alternators going on the fritz. Even the starter motor, one of the most common failure points in older cars, doesn't exist in the EV lexicon. When you press the start button in an EV, the motor simply energizes, and you're ready to roll. What does this mean in practice? A less stressful drive. That unidentifiable squeak or rattle you might have investigated in an ICE car just doesn't surface in the same way. Of course, EVs can have other mechanical or body-related noises, but the core complexities of the engine and associated components vanish, making your day-to-day ride calmer, both literally and figuratively. Still around, but improved. While it's true that an EV eliminates a bunch of parts, a few categories remain. However, in almost all cases, these carry over with notable improvements. Tires. EVs still have 4 tires, unless you're looking at some wild concept car. But these can wear out slightly faster due to the extra weight of the battery pack and the immediate torque delivered by the electric motor. Still, a set of tires every couple of years is far cheaper and less stressful than rebuilding an engine. Suspension system. You'll find struts, shock absorbers, control arms, and bushings, just like in any vehicle. The difference is that there's no roaring engine weighing down the front and no huge vibrations. Suspension components can last a long time if you drive carefully and keep an eye on bumps and potholes. Brakes. Electric vehicles still have disc brakes, calipers, and brake fluid, but regenerative braking drastically cuts down on the wear. When you lift your foot off the accelerator, the EV's motor starts generating electricity, recharging the battery, and slows the car, so your brake pads and rotors do a fraction of the work compared to a traditional car. Less friction means fewer replacements and bigger savings. 12-volt battery. Many EVs still have a small auxiliary battery to power lights and accessories when the main battery is off, but it's a simpler system than in ICE cars, especially because you're no longer using that 12-volt battery to crank a massive starter motor. All told, the parts you do keep are either used less or last longer. That synergy is part of why EVs are lauded as being more durable in the long run. Let's talk savings. We've touched on the money side here and there, but let's put it all in perspective. The average gas-powered car will cost you, conservatively, around $5,000 to $8,000 over 5 years in routine maintenance and minor repairs. This figure includes oil changes, spark plug and belt replacements, transmission services, brake jobs, and the occasional repair or two for unexpected engine or emission components. Meanwhile, typical EV maintenance over the same period might land somewhere around $1,000, often even less, depending on which model you drive and how you treat it. That's a difference of thousands of dollars in just a few years. Think of where else that money could go. Maybe a family vacation, a home improvement project, or an investment fund. Instead of handing it over to your mechanic, you get to keep it. But it's not just about direct maintenance costs. There's the time savings. No more scheduling appointments, missing work, or waiting in quick lube shop lines. There's also the intangible stress reduction. No more worrying if that clunk under the hood is going to become a 4-figure surprise. Beyond that, there's the fuel savings. Charging an EV at home is often a fraction of the price you'd pay filling up at the gas station every week. And that price advantage will likely grow as renewable energy becomes more common. Even potential battery replacements, a concern many new EV owners have, are becoming less of an issue. Modern EV batteries are designed to last well beyond 100,000 kilometers. Some are going strong beyond 300,000 kilometers. Battery warranties are also quite generous, sometimes 8 years or more. When you spread that cost over such a long time and factor in the vast savings on everything else, the numbers still come out strongly in favor of EVs. Conclusion: electric vehicles, ultimate driving freedom. Switching to an electric vehicle is about so much more than going green. It's about regaining control over your daily life and budget. It's the difference between waking up every morning knowing you have to keep an eye on that check engine light, schedule your next oil change, or fill up a tank at near-record gas prices, and waking up to a fully charged battery, zero fluid leaks, and a driving experience so smooth and quiet it almost feels futuristic. Think of all the parts we've listed: spark plugs, timing belts, fuel pumps, alternators, catalytic converters, EGR valves, O2 sensors, clutches, torque converters. The list goes on. All of those potential pitfalls vanish when you switch to an EV, replaced by a sleek electric motor, a battery pack, and a significantly simpler drivetrain. You aren't just saving money, you're saving time, and you're saving yourself from countless headaches down the road. Of course, electric cars aren't perfect. Battery technology continues to evolve, and charging networks can still improve. However, for many people, the day-to-day reality of owning an EV is already leaps and bounds more convenient and affordable than a traditional combustion vehicle. There's a reason why nearly every major automaker is going electric. This is the future, and for some of us, the future is already here. So the next time someone claims that electric cars are too expensive or too complicated, remind them of the 37 car parts you'll never have to replace again, the very parts they might still be contending with on their gas guzzler. Let them know about the quiet rides, the effortless torque, and the freedom from constant maintenance chores. Because driving electric isn't just an environmental statement. It's a statement of independence from the dusty old ways of the combustion engine. It's a new chapter in personal transportation, one where you get to keep more of your hard-earned money and enjoy more peace of mind on the road. If you're already an EV driver, jump in the comments and share your favorite part about leaving all those ICE components behind. And if you're on the fence, hopefully this deep dive into the vanishing parts list has given you some food for thought. Throw a like and subscribe if you found this valuable, and stay tuned for more insights on the evolving world of electric mobility. Until next time, drive electric, drive happy, and enjoy the ride without all the parts and fluids you used to dread paying for.